Good afternoon. I am Brian Little, and we welcome you to the February 8th meeting of the Rotary Club of Greenville. If you will please stand, we will have our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Let us pray. We have gathered in the spirit of truth, fairness, goodwill, friendship, and concern for others. We are thankful for the blessings of this day, this country, and for the unique gathering of service-minded community leaders. Lord, even as we pray these words and express these thoughts, we are not always the people we would like others to think we are. In this paralysis of spirit, we contribute to unrest, indifference to our neighbors' needs, and preoccupation with material standards. Dear God, you who are so patient, so caring, so understanding, forgive our inadequacies and help us to model your direction and love. Now we humbly ask you that you would bless this gathering and us to a deeper commitment and service. Amen. Let us say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon. I'm Pam Weaver, and I am so excited that we have so many wonderful guests here today. This is going to be an awesome program. I'd like to have you stand as I read your name and stay standing until everybody has been recognized. And trust me, I'm not going to read every single name in here, I promise. Evan Marchi is a guest of Amy Randall. Amanda Osborne, guest of Amy Randall. Kaya Wade, Amy Randall. Scott and Lindsay Gullias, a guest of Amy Randall. Sid Smith, a guest of Amy Randall. Amy, why don't you stand up too? Deborah Allen is a guest of the club. Rick Matthews is a guest of the club. Philip Wright, a guest of the club. Sherry Penuel, my guest. Stand up, please. And all of the law enforcement guests in the room, would you please stand? There's a lot of you. All right, thank you. Thanks so much for joining us. Feel free to do that anytime. We'd love to have you back anytime you want. We'd also love to have you consider joining the club, every single one of you. Well, I think there's a couple that might be too young over here. Thank you.
Hello, it's good to see so many people out here today. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the upcoming Peace and Conflict Resolution Conference that's coming up in May. If you look around the table, you'll find this card. It's a save the date card. If you will, if it's in front of you, grab it, take a look at it, pass it around the table so people can see what this is all about. You know, questions come up about what's it all about, et cetera. And what I want to talk about today is why. Why are we going to have a Peace and Conflict Resolution Conference? I know it's pretty obvious. Everybody knows that we live in a society that's more polarized than it's ever been. Angry, disrespectful, downright mean-spirited behavior has become the norm sometimes. Hate crimes in the United States are at an all-time high. When there's this level of polarization, there's this tendency to see the other side, the others, as something less than, even evil or the enemy. And it's really hard to just sit down and try to understand opposing points of view. And so if you got this kind of a divisive environment, you have a lot of name calling, you have a lot of hate speech, you have a lot of general nastiness in the population. And so our United States is becoming less and less united. So until we have the desire and the tools to really come together and talk in a civil and constructive manner, it's going to continue, and there's going to be less peace. So that's why we're having the conference this year. It's very important. We want to have a civil discussion in a safe environment, and then show and talk about why we're having so many conflicts in our lives and show how we can address these conflicts. You'll actually walk away from the conference with some very common sense tools of solving conflicts. How many people went to the peace conference that was held about 4 years ago? Show of hands. Okay, wow. Well, how many people have been members of the club less than 4 years? All right. We need your help to make this conference a success. And so I've got an ask of you today. Two things, really. Number one, I want you to please this afternoon go to our website. It's www.peaceandconflictresolution.com and just look it over. See what it's all about. Look at the agenda, look at the speakers, see what's going on. And then we're going to ask that you please make a contribution. If you go to the sponsors tab, there are different levels of contributions. And the one that's really easy right now, there's a $99 individual contribution. I mean, most of us spend more than that on lattes at Starbucks over a few months period. So we ask that you please think about that. Know that, Rotary is truly about peace, building goodwill and better friendships, things being beneficial to all concerned. To me, that's peace. And that's what we're about as Rotarians. But we need your help. We need your support. Again, please, this afternoon, go check out the website, www.peaceandconflictresolution.com. And if you will, please make a contribution. Thank you so much.
I think we're going to have segue after segue today. Today's meeting, we honor those who work in law enforcement. Today, for those who work in law enforcement, and we honor them for two reasons. One is to thank them for their service, and the other is part of Rotary's vision, as Ron has just described to you, to promote peace and conflict resolution. So promoting peace and conflict resolution is one of the 7 causes, one of 7 areas of focus that Rotary concentrates on. And these 7 causes are funded by our support as a club and as individuals. So why do we give to the Rotary Foundation? It's really pretty simple. It's because of what the Rotary Foundation does for the world, funding projects in these causes, and also what the foundation does for our own community, helping to fund the causes that we believe are important right here in Greenville. And this year specifically, the foundation helped us, our club, by funding grants to empower Alexander Elementary School and the Greenville Literacy Association. Now, the size of these grants, and therefore the extent to which we can address the needs of Alexander and of Greenville Literacy Association, that's determined by one factor, the per capita level of our individual gifts to the foundation. I'm going to say that one more time. The size of the grants that we receive through the foundation is dependent on the per capita level of our individual contributions to the Rotary Foundation. So to accomplish this, the foundation encourages us to do a couple of things. One is EREY, every Rotarian, every year. And we would like, one of our goals is to have every one of our members give something to the foundation every year, and a minimum of $25. The other is PHF, the Paul Harris Fellows, 100% PHF. It's a little bit of a harder goal. The goal is to have every one of us, 100% of our members, be a Paul Harris Fellow. And to be a Paul Harris Fellow means that you contribute a cumulative total of $1,000 to the foundation. It can be over years. At your first $1,000, your generosity is recognized via a certificate and a pin. And for every subsequent $1,000 level that you get to as a Paul Harris Fellow, you'll receive a gem that can be added to that pin. Now, we are not suggesting that Rotary members do this because they like Rotary bling. I don't think that's a thing with us, but we hope that you'll make a gift to the foundation because our contributions are basic and critical to doing our mission throughout the world, but also right here at home. And we get it. Ron just asked for your help for the Peace Conference. We ask you often to give of yourself in many ways. And during this month of February, though, our club will partner with you in making it more possible for you to make a contribution to the foundation. And later today, you will receive an email for your members, just for you, and it will let you know how close you are to becoming a Paul Harris Fellow, either for the first time or how close you are to reaching the next level. And whatever that number is, the club, if you send in a contribution for just half of that, the club will match it via appointment. And you will be recognized as a Paul Harris Fellow. Our per capita goal will increase, and our club will come closer to realizing additional goals. So that's the who, what, when, and how of the action items that I have. But just like Ron, I want to make sure that you understand the why of this. And that takes us back to the link between the focus of this meeting and Rotary Foundation's cause of peace and conflict resolution. Meet then Lieutenant D.F. Pace of the Philadelphia Police Department. In 2010 in Philadelphia, they were wrestling with some of the same things that Ron just described to you that we're wrestling with now. Growing tension between police and the residents not only troubled the police department there, but also the Rotary Club of Philadelphia, the 19th oldest Rotary Club in the world. And the chair of their scholarship committee had sort of a light bulb moment. He said, "It finally dawned on me that a police officer is at the very forefront of violence and prevention and peace building. And as such, he would be a great fit for the Rotary Peace Fellowship Program that focuses on peace and conflict resolution." And since 2002, 1,500 individuals from 115 countries around the world have attended the 7 Rotary Peace Centers. And they have applied, and Lieutenant Pace applied and went off for 3 months in Thailand. Well, Pace relished the challenge. He said, "As soon as I saw it, I said, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity." He saw the fellowship as a way to diffuse a developing powder keg. And what he said, remember this is 2010, he said, "Even before events like what happened in Ferguson, Missouri, I saw an unease developing between police and the community. And if we don't get a handle on this, the lid's gonna come off." So he went, and after returning to Philadelphia, Pace began to incorporate what he learned at the Rotary Peace Centers into seminars for other ranking officers. The class was not an easy sell. One of the lessons that Pace imparts comes directly from his time as a Peace Fellow, and what he learned was that conflict itself is neither good nor bad. It's neutral. The good or bad comes in how we manage that conflict. And then he cited another lesson. He said, "The critical importance of communication skills." And this is a quote from him: "How you talk to people can create a situation that fosters understanding and compromise, or can put them on the defensive. And once someone puts up a shield, there's little you can do to fix it at that point. You can always escalate if necessary, but if you start escalating, it's very difficult to de-escalate." Now a police inspector in Philadelphia, D.F. Pace's experience as a police officer changed his own and many other lives due to the impact of Rotary's humanitarian focus on peace. And I don't know about you members here, but I feel pretty good that our Rotary Association, our Rotary clubs, our Rotary International has that kind of a lasting impact. So what I'm here to do is to give you the why, as well as the what, how, when, who, so that this clubs can participate in the Rotary Foundation. And I thank you for considering a gift to the Rotary Foundation. You will receive an email from me sometime today. And if you don't get it, you know where I live. Thank you.
We're excited about our Law Day program today, and we greatly appreciate our sponsors, our primary sponsors, the South Carolina insurance brokers. We have with us today Carrie Wilson, Deborah Allen, Rick Matthews, and Philip Wright. And Philip would like to say a few words on behalf of our sponsor.
My name's Philip. I work alongside with Deborah and Carrie at South Carolina Insurance Brokers, one of Greenville's favorite insurance agencies. And we just want to say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for protecting our communities, our families, and everyone around us. So we appreciate you guys and looking forward to hear more about your guys' awards. Have a good day.
We also want to acknowledge John Allen. John asked to be a sponsor this year too. So John, we appreciate your part in Rotary Law Day. So we're pleased to have with us today our Law Day speaker, Judge Letitia Verdin. Known Judge Verdin for a number of years. She grew up in Oconee County. She finished Furman University with a degree in biology, went on to the University of South Carolina Law School, graduated there, was a member of Moot Court, and was also recognized as an outstanding student volunteer at the University of South Carolina. After law school, she served as an assistant solicitor and then went on into private practice for a number of years. In 2008, she was elected by the South Carolina General Assembly to serve as a family court judge. And in 2011, the General Assembly elected her to serve as a circuit court judge. Judge Verdin and her husband Chuck reside in Greenville. They have twin sons that attend Clemson University. Please join me in welcoming our speaker today for Law Day, Judge Letitia Verdin.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me here today. It is an honor. My father, well, you heard I grew up in Oconee County, and my father was a member of the Seneca Rotary Club, and I often went with him to meetings, and in fact, went to college in part on a Rotary scholarship. So thank you for the work that you do for our community and for what you've done for my family personally. Since March of 2020, we have heard a lot of bad news. And Mr. Wickensheimer said I could speak on anything I wanted to today. So I'm going to speak about some good news on my favorite topic, one of my favorite topics, and that is the criminal justice system in the 13th Circuit, most particularly in Greenville County. I think I'm here to give you some great news about the shape that we are in the midst of this pandemic, and it was against great odds. Just to give you a little background about what the court system looks like on a normal day in Greenville County when we have court. We have usually 2 criminal courts that are trial courts that are running. We have 1 court that is taking guilty pleas. We have another judge who 1 or 2 judges who are doing civil trials, and then we usually have another judge who is doing civil motions. So in other words, the Greenville County Courthouse is a buzz of activity, and the Pickens County Courthouse, the other part of the 13th Circuit, Pickens County, is a buzz as well. In fact, we are the largest judicial circuit in the state. And in 2020, when the governor issued a stay-at-home order, and then our Chief Justice found it necessary to shut down the unified court system for a period of time and then reopen it only in pieces at time, many predicted complete catastrophe for our system, and it could have been, especially for a large county like Greenville County. But that has not been the case, and I'm proud to tell you that. If you'll indulge me for just a moment, I want to talk about some numbers and let you know, this will be the boring part, I hope. Okay, in Greenville County in 2020, we received 15,705 criminal warrants. We disposed of 13,866. Now, the number that we received is fairly consistent over time. What we disposed of was less than what we took in, and that is very inconsistent with the way that it has been, especially in the last few years in Greenville County. I'll do the math for you. That is 1,839 cases that or warrants that we were behind. We took in more than we disposed of, and in Pickens County, they are obviously a much smaller county, received 3,984 warrants, disposed of 2,867. Pickens County is not as able to absorb missed terms of court and is not able to absorb, for instance, in Greenville County, when the clerk of court's office had someone out for quarantine or for COVID, that office was cross-trained and had people, a large staff who could cover. In Pickens County, it was not always that case. So their number is a little bit skewed. In 2021, Greenville received 15,941 warrants. Once again, very consistent. Disposed of 17,157 warrants. In that year, in 2021, when others were drowning, we were 1,216 warrants ahead. In Pickens County, 4,099, disposed of 3,935, just almost a wash there. That means that in Greenville County, for the 2 years of the pandemic, we were already in good shape comparatively in the state, and definitely comparatively to large circuits and large counties. But that means that at the end of 2021, we were only 600 cases behind total. In January of this year, we already have the numbers, and we're picking up speed again. Pickens County was already to the good 243 cases just in the month of January, and Greenville was to the good 450 cases just in the month of January. That tells us that through January of this year, just to sum it up, that we are only 150 cases behind from when the pandemic began, and we fully anticipate to make up that ground in the month of February. That also tells you something very important about law enforcement. We stopped, we paused. Some places paused longer than others, but law enforcement never did. They had to continue their work in the community. There was no shutdown for law enforcement, and you can tell that because the warrants were consistent over the years. I also don't want to slight any other counties, because not all counties have the resources that Greenville County has at its disposal. So I want to be clear about that. And there are particular reasons that Greenville has fared so well, and Pickens County have fared so well, but I'll talk about that in just a moment. In Greenville and Pickens County, we combined to make up 12% of the state's population. But in 2020, we moved 21% of all cases moved in the state. In case you think I'm tooting my own horn, let me just be clear. In 2020, I was the administrative judge over criminal docket. That was the year we fell slightly behind. The year we picked up steam, Judge Ned Miller was the administrative judge. So I want to be very clear and give credit where credit is due. One reason that we have done so well is we had forward-thinking leaders who already had infrastructure in place. We had long done pleas from the jail, bonds, home incarceration violations by a video system from the jail, where the inmate was never moved to the courthouse, but rather we did it via video. That was something we had long done on a system we called the Polycom system. That's something that the sheriff's office, law enforcement, clerk of court, our clerk of court, Paul Wickensheimer, and the solicitor's office put in place in coordination with the judiciary. And Pickens County has done the same. That put us in a terrific position when COVID hit. And that leads me to my next point is we never actually shut down. In Greenville County, I will tell you that immediately after the governor's stay-at-home order expired, our solicitor, Walt Wilkins, who is here today, the deputy solicitor, William McMaster, who I also see here today, the circuit public defender, Chris Scalzo, were all at the courthouse putting up pleas themselves. They were there doing guilty pleas that we deemed to be important cases that needed to be moved immediately. In fact, just to put a finer point on it, they were there, the heads of those offices were there doing pleas when they would not ask their own employees to come out and do those. So it was just tremendous leadership during that time. And many of you in law enforcement who are here today helped us identify those pleas that we needed to move. It was imperative that we do that because we did not have an immediate need, but we knew we would have an immediate, a very pressing need coming for an isolation wing to help mitigate the spread of COVID in our detention center. Finally, the folks at the detention center, most especially Sergeant Dana Armstrong, worked tirelessly to implement new mitigation practices, but also to convert the transportation of inmates to the courthouse to rather convert that to video hearings in total. Just to let you know, video hearings from before COVID hit to after increased 400% at the jail. And presently, our detention center here in Greenville County does 700 to 800 video hearings per month. We understand, I understand that every person in this room, your community leaders, and you probably were not able to be part of a shutdown. I know law enforcement definitely was not able to be part of the shutdown. And in fact, I know for law enforcement, it increased the burden on them many times over. And I thank you so much for everything that you have done. One small example of that is to book someone into the detention center, the arresting officer now had to fill out a COVID questionnaire for the inmate. And if it seemed like the inmate might have COVID, that whole area had to be shut down for a period of 30 to 45 minutes. So it is amazing to me that law enforcement was able to continue to do the work that they do, keeping our community safe during those very trying conditions. Just to give you a quick update, there were times that 25 units at our detention center were on quarantine. I checked before I came over here today, and we currently have 3. So that is very good news. We also, for well over a year, have been doing in-person pleas where appropriate. We've begun to bring folks in who are out on bond to do guilty pleas, and we have restarted jury trials as well. We are now looking for ways collaboratively between the clerk of court's office, the solicitor's office, and the judiciary to try to find a way to do more than one trial in the courthouse at a time. Finally, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that during this extremely difficult period, the leadership of our clerk of court, Paul Wickensheimer, in Greenville County, and the deputy clerk of court, Leanda King, what they did to actually make us stronger during this time. In other words, we are coming out of the pandemic in the court system stronger because of their forward thinking. I think it would have been very easy to say, let's kind of hold where we are, let's tread water, but they did not. With incredible leadership and coordination with our county administrator, Joe Cornell, they upgraded technology in our courtroom. In other words, if our courtrooms were not up and running, doing trials, or as full as I told you we normally are in the beginning, they had folks in there installing new technology and saw an opportunity and took advantage of it right then. If you have not visited our courtrooms, and I see some folks smiling. If you have not visited our courtrooms, I invite you to do so. We have every screen imaginable. One attorney told me that it looks like a sports bar in our courtrooms, which got some people thinking that March Madness is coming up. So maybe we, but no, it has greatly impacted our ability and given us so much freedom to be able to do hearings we can actually do hearings with some folks live, some folks remotely. And then the jury trials that have started back, juries now have better access to evidence in cases, and attorneys are better able to present their cases to the jury than ever before. And as I said, that was through their fantastic leadership. I will tell you that we are the envy of the state in terms of our technology in the courtroom, and people cannot believe, I've spoken at some statewide conferences recently, they cannot believe that during this time that we actually upgraded the services that we can provide to Greenville County. This time has truly taught us that collaboration throughout the criminal justice system can overcome incredible odds, and we've not only survived, we've thrived during this period of time. I want to thank everyone in this room for everything you do. Most importantly, I want to thank law enforcement for what you have done to keep our community safe during this difficult time. And I want to thank you all for putting the 13th Judicial Circuit in such a positive position to take us past this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge, for your words. And thank you, Rotary Club of Greenville and South Carolina Insurance Brokers for sponsoring this event. This is a great day. It's a great day when we can honor law enforcement, when we see what's going on across the nation. But here in Greenville, we come together. It's one of the, it is the best place to me to be able to police. I would not want to police anywhere else. And we are here today. The Greenville Police Department has 209 officers that are dedicated to serving the citizens of Greenville. And we are here today to honor one of our officers that's just an exemplary officer. So thank you for the privilege of doing that. Officer Baker Odom has been selected as the Greenville Police Department 2021 Rotary Officer of the Year. Officer Odom came to us with 8 years experience from the Bluffton Police Department. Officer Odom has distinguished himself with the police department just by his dedication and commitment. He is a uniform patrol officer assigned on the streets, answering your 911 calls, accidents, and then proactively checking our communities and working in the communities and with other law enforcement agencies, and has just done an excellent job. The judge spoke about some of the numbers, and you're probably like, where do all these numbers come from? Well, they come from officers just like Officer Baker. So let me give you some numbers that he's done in 2021. In 2021, he answered 1,462 calls for service. That's you, the community, calling and needing help and him responding. He made 114 arrests, and he served 27 warrants that the judge spoke about. He issued 203 citations, and 82 of those were for DUIs, which is what brought him here to you today to be recognized. He got 82 DUIs last year. He is out there on the streets, keeping our neighborhoods safe from people that are driving under the influence, which, as you know, still continues to be a problem. Even with all the means of transportation that people have, they still continue to drink and drive. As you know, we have over 100 establishments just on Main Street in Greenville that have alcohol license, which lends to the problem. People come out and drink and then drive. But luckily, we have people like Officer Baker Odom out there keeping our streets safe. Officer Odom has prioritized combating drunk and impaired driving in his assigned zone and proactively offers assistance in other zones. Whether working regular duty or extra shifts in our downtown district, his drive remains clear. He seeks out drunk drivers and protects our streets. In one incident of a DUI collision involving a fatality, Officer Odom took the reins of the call and the initial investigation and charges. He continued the investigation by securing a search warrant for blood and urine, and then went to the hospital to retrieve the evidence from the defendant. Officer Odom worked tirelessly, even past his regular duty hours, to ensure that this subject was and the proper charges were made, which resulted in a felony DUI charge against the person because it involved a death. Officer Odom is confident. He handles himself responsibly and professionally, and he leads by example. This continuous commitment of Officer Odom shows every day. His humility shines strong while his drive and success is consistent. When speaking of Officer Odom with his peers and supervisors, the phrase hardworking and well-rounded is always mentioned. In addition to being an excellent officer for the police department, I'd like to also mention that he's married to his wife, Brandy, who's here with us today. Thank you for letting us borrow him from you. And he's the father of 3 children, and we have 2 of them here with us today, and we're glad they could join us. But please join me in congratulating the Greenville Police Department Rotary Club Officer of the Year, Officer Baker Odom.
Public speaking is not really my thing, so I promise I'll make this very quick. Thank you, Chief. Thank you to the Rotary Club of Greenville. Thank you to my entire chain of command. Of course, thank you to my wife, my kids, who are always very supportive, despite how difficult shift work can be and police work can be. Also, thank you to my platoon, the 100 platoon. As far as I'm concerned, the whole platoon deserves this reward today as much as I do. 10,000 lives. All right, hold on to that number for a minute. I'll come back to it in a second here. As you might have heard, or as you did hear, I was a police officer for 8 years in Bluffton. Came up here about 2 years ago, joined the Greenville Police Department, joined the 100 platoon pretty much right away. In South Carolina, DUI laws can be pretty tricky. They can be tricky to the point that a lot of us kind of feel like they're almost intentionally written to be tricky. They're one of the few statutes that have very obvious loopholes built into it. Like the way the statute's written, loopholes are built in. So because of that, a lot of officers, very understandably, are discouraged or feel discouraged when it comes to enforcing DUI laws, because one little slip up and it's tossed out, and it can be very discouraging. I actually I even heard an officer, not at this agency, not at a previous agency I was at, just another officer that I heard talking, tell a newer officer who was making traffic stops 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, hey, watch out, you make traffic stops this early in the morning, you're gonna catch yourself a DUI. Actually warning him to be careful about catching a DUI. Since I've been here at the 100 platoon, one of the things that has stood out to me is that everybody on the platoon, when it comes down to it, if they find a DUI and it turns out they're the one who has to work it, they're gonna work it. They're gonna do their best ability to make it stick, to get all the evidence the right way, make sure that they don't fall into any of those loopholes. They also know how passionate I am about DUIs though, and if I'm available at the time, they'll call me and I'll come and I'll take over the investigation. As you know, it's become, as I said, a passion of mine. Many of my arrests this year, many of those 82 arrests that Chief just talked about came from exactly those type of situations, which is why, as far as I'm concerned, the 100 platoon deserves this as much as I do. I'm fortunate because as many people in all walks of life, do not find their professional passion. And I'm fortunate that I have been able to find it. It took me about 6 years of being a cop to find it, but once I did, I latched onto it and I did it to the best of my ability. I'm thankful that I don't derive this passion for DUIs from a personal tragedy in my life. I haven't been personally touched by DUI tragedy, even though my brother actually lost a close friend in high school to a impaired driving collision. I'm not sure what the numbers are for 2020 and 2021, but in 2019, the United States had its lowest year ever for DUI deaths. Progress is being made on this front, but in that best year ever, 10,142 lives were lost. That's 10,000 preventable deaths, and that was a good year. That means that roughly 28 people today in the United States will die from an impaired driving collision, and about 2 people while we're sitting right here will die of an impaired driving collision. Every single one of those deaths is preventable, and that is where my passion and motivation comes from. I'm thankful and gratified to see that this passion is being recognized. I'm thankful to be on a platoon that not only recognizes, but actually actively tries to enforce that passion as well. So thank you again, and thank you.
That young man's gonna make a fine politician one day. Judge Verdin, thank you for your comments. Mr. Wickensheimer, you certainly owe her a hot fudge sundae or something, singing your praises like that. Myself and Bennett's been over there eating a couple of them. I think we're both pretty dizzy at this point, but thank you so much for inviting us here today. I'm honored to stand here alongside many of my fellow law enforcement officers and agency heads as we hear about these officers' remarkable deeds. Oftentimes, the heroic acts and exceptional service that a law enforcement officer performs are solely mentioned between the walls of our offices or between the doors of our patrol cars. However, because we have exceptional organization in the Greenville Rotary, we can publicly thank and honor each of these officers you will hear about today, and for that I'm forever grateful. Every year, I attend various events, and very few foster the level of hospitality and principle that is provided here. So thank you for keeping this lasting tradition. This year, I have the honor of telling you about a deputy who has far exceeded any expectations as a law enforcement officer. As the sheriff of this county, I stand before you today with tremendous pride as I explain the actions and incredible efforts achieved by Deputy Kyle Alexander. With just 7 years of experience, Deputy Alexander has taken the bull by the horns in his proactive approach to protecting and serving the citizens of Greenville County. As a member of the Sheriff's Office Directed Patrol Unit and our SWAT team, Kyle has displayed an incredible work ethic and commitment to service by enforcing the laws with relentless passion. To say he has improved the quality of life for citizens of Greenville County would be a tremendous understatement. As I read through this extraordinary statistics, I ask you one thing, not just to filter them with temporary astonishment, but rather visualize each number as a person saved from the potential chains of addiction as a child prevented from getting their hands on dangerous substance, as a friend who went down the wrong path that led to a violent and dark road. Because each arrest, each drug and gun that was seized by the efforts of Deputy Kyle Alexander indeed carried that very impact, either directly or by the result of preventive circumstances brought forth by Kyle's proactive enforcement. In 2021, Deputy Kyle Alexander seized 2,329 grams of methamphetamine, over 75 grams of lethal fentanyl, 14 grams of heroin, 1,119 grams of marijuana, 2,160 grams of THC, 73 grams of MDMA, 326 grams of powder cocaine, and over 72 grams of crack cocaine, 374 grams of liquid codeine, and 91 illegally possessed pills. Additionally, Kyle seized over $14,500 in narcotic-related currency, removed 37 dangerous firearms from the streets of Greenville County, and recovered $4,000 of stolen property. These numbers coincide with Deputy Alexander's 124 arrests and servicing of 205 criminal warrants, you're happy to know, Judge, on dangerous offenders living and preying on the victims of Greenville County. Ladies and gentlemen, these statistics are specific to the actions of Deputy Alexander and do not reflect the daunting hours of large-scale investigations that he has put forth working alongside his partners and members of the Drug Enforcement Unit. In reality, these numbers are conservative. This past year, Deputy Alexander was also awarded the prestigious Medal of Valor by South Carolina Sheriff's Association for his heroic efforts and actions in taking down an armed barricaded suspect who had tried to shoot his mother and was actively wielding a flamethrower in front of deputies. You might recall this case because the same incident that occurred, our beloved K-9 Nikos was critically wounded. Deputy Alexander has proven to be ready in a moment's notice for the people of Greenville County, and his service is beyond compare. I'm so proud of this deputy and the example he sets for all those who set out to protect and serve the people of Greenville County. It is my great honor to call up Deputy Alexander to accept the esteemed 2021 Greenville Rotary Deputy of the Year Award. Yeah, say a little something. Make me look good. What's another picture? You got it.
I had no idea I was going to speak today, so I'm not for public speaking unless you're a bad guy, and hopefully there's none of those here. I'll just make it short and sweet. I came to the Direct Patrol Unit just over 3 years ago. Did my time on the road, and I found a family in the Direct Patrol Unit. It's our job day in and day out to go out for our street level narcotics, and that's what I enjoy. I come to work every day. My wife drives her crazy, but I typically get home late. There's not usually it's less than 11 or 12 hours for me, but that's something that I love to do, and I'll continue to love doing it until the day I retire. So thank y'all very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. Congratulations, Baker. Congratulations, Kyle. Well deserved. It's an honor. My name is Phil Tahir. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in charge of one of two Assistant Special Agents in charge in South Carolina. It's an absolute honor and privilege for me to be here amongst you, amongst agency heads, the community, and the Rotary Club. And thanks to the Rotary Club for putting this on and taking the time to recognize the officers in the community that do some of the hardest work that's done in one of the hardest professions. So thank you for doing that. I've only been here a few months, and it's humbling to hear of all the good stories and the good relationships that we have within the FBI, with the community, and with our law enforcement partners. And one of the names that comes up repeatedly is one of the special agents that we have that works out of Greenville, Tanya Evansina. It's crazy how you just keep hearing the same names over and over again for the work that individuals do, and her name stands out, so it's no surprise that she's receiving this award. In 1994, Special Agent Evanina joined the City of Greenville Police Department, where she was eventually assigned as an investigator in the Violent Crimes Against Persons Unit. As an investigator, Special Agent Evanina specialized in crimes against children and was a member of the South Carolina Attorney General's Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force. In 2008, Special Agent Evanina accepted a position with the FBI. Her first assignment was with the FBI's Pittsburgh Division as a member of the Violent Crimes Program. Drawing on her experiences with the Greenville Police Department, she gravitated toward the Violent Crimes Against Children program. Special Agent Evanina could not escape the pull of South Carolina's upstate, and in 2016, she accepted a transfer to the FBI's Columbia's Division office in Greenville. Based on Special Agent Evanina's knowledge of the area and her reputation with the local law enforcement community, she was assigned to the Joint Terrorism Task Force. As a member of the Joint Terrorism Task Force, Special Agent Evanina engages with the FBI's local, state, and federal partners to support the counterterrorism mission. Special Agent Evanina led the multi-agency Anderson County bomber investigation. The bomber, a bin Laden and ISIS sympathizer who terrorized the citizens of Anderson County in 2019, was identified and arrested in no small part due to Special Agent Evanina's extraordinary work ethic, but also in her ability to work with and inspire investigators from other agencies to come together and focus on a common goal. In addition to the Anderson County bomber, Special Agent Evanina also led the FBI's investigation of Michael Seabrook, who placed and detonated a pipe bomb at the Pickens County Courthouse. Again, this was another multi-agency investigation in which Special Agent Evanina demonstrated her superior investigative skill and ability to foster positive working relationships with the law enforcement community. Special Agent Evanina's role on the Joint Terrorism Task Force in the Greenville office is multifaceted. In her position, in addition to carrying a complex and heavy caseload, she provides leadership and guidance to the task force officers assigned to the Greenville office. As such, there are very few instances in the realm of counterterrorism in the area she has not touched. Many of the activities of the Joint Terrorism Task Force in which she has participated are not publicized and include investigative actions which are deemed disruptive and deter threats to public safety for which attention or notoriety are not sought. Special Agent Evanina works tirelessly with the community to ensure the safety and well-being of everyone. The work is unrelenting and tedious for a mission in which failure is not an option. Despite the long hours and stress of the job, Special Agent Evanina, in addition to caring for her family, still finds time to contribute to the local community and can be found volunteering at a local nursing home during her time off. Tanya, thanks so much for the work you've done. It truly is an honor for me to be here. You've been an amazing representation of the FBI, and thank you. Keep doing the work you're doing. Can you please come forward and can everybody join me in recognizing her for her achievements?
Good afternoon. Very grateful to be the recipient of this year's award, Federal Law Enforcement Officer of the Year. Super excited to be back in South Carolina, where I started my career serving the citizens of South Carolina. I'd like to thank my supervisors for their nomination, and thank you for your support and leadership. Your leadership makes me want to be a better agent and strive to work harder every day. I share this award with the task force officers I work with every day here in Greenville. The successful prosecution of the cases that were mentioned today could not be possible without your superb knowledge of explosive devices, and also your investigative experience in investigating those cases. So thank you, guys. I learned something every day that I work with you. And in John's case, maybe I learned what not to do. But thank you. The successful prosecution of those cases is just proof that the task forces do work. And I'd like to thank the sheriff and the chief of police for dedicating resources to support the mission of the FBI in combating joint terrorism cases. Thank you to my family who's here today. I thank you for your support, your love, and your patience. And I had a very special visitor who came down from DC today, my brother. Thank you for your guidance in life and your guidance throughout my law enforcement career. And a special thank you to the Rotary Club. I thank you for what you guys do every day. Your selflessness, dedication to the community kind of restores at least my vision and hope to try to do good in the community. Thank you again for this award, and thank you for what you guys do.
Sorry. Myself and the chief do have one more award since he's from Malden. I invited him up here. We would like to draw everybody's attention to our table, and we got a special guest today, a young man you might have seen on or heard about through the local news outlets. This young man is Greenville County's honorary Law Enforcement Officer of the Year, and his story has inspired us all. His dream came true last month when he was sworn in as an official police officer for the city of Malden through the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And today, we want to extend that recognition to an even broader scope as we present Officer Bennett Guyas with the 2022 Officer of the Year Award. Bennett, myself, and the chief want to give you something. Okay, we got to make this look good. Right.
Hi, I'm Lisa Mangione, and I'm here to close us out. So thank you all for coming today. Thank you, Judge Verdin, for your wonderful talk today. I learned quite a bit, actually. We also have books while we're at it. The judge signed one here that will be going to Alexander Elementary School. I believe all of our honorees signed one also, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Okay, good. So we have 4 books going to the Alexander Elementary School Library after this meeting. Congratulations again to all of our award recipients. We have Officer Baker Odom, Deputy Kyle Alexander, and Special Agent Tanya Evanina, and Bennett. Thank you for all law enforcement officers for attending, for taking the time to come here and giving us this opportunity to recognize you and express our gratitude and appreciation for all that you do every day. And to our sponsors, Carrie Wilson and Deborah Allen for the South Carolina insurance brokers. We have a few reminders. You have your cart buckets on the table. Sonny Handa is matching all contributions today. So if you know him and you would like him to spend a little more money, put some more in there for him to match. Alexander Elementary, we have on February the 14th, we need some lunchtime volunteers. If anybody can sign up for that for this Monday. We also on Related also to Alexander Elementary on March, that was February the 14th. I hope I didn't say March. March the 2nd is Read Across America. If you can contact Amy Randall if you would like to participate in that, in reading to the children at Alexander Elementary. On February 21st, we have Health and Happiness at the Borough. And on February 22nd, we have Discover Rotary right before our next meeting, and our speaker will be Dr. Marjorie Jenkins at the USC School of Medicine. Thank you all for attending. This is always one of our more favorite days here for the Rotary Club, and we really appreciate everybody coming. And if we could stand now and say the four-way test. Four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. We are adjourned.
Thank you. It's hot.